Hello, Mrs. Knowlton and people of the internet. I'm Jonah, obviously, and I'm going to be going over how I've grown as a reader and a writer throughout the 2019-2020 school year. And I'm first going to start, as in the writing section, by going over one of my most recent and one of my oldest pieces in my writer's notebook. So I'm first going to start by going over one of my older pieces, and this does not have a date or a title, and I have gotten better at that throughout the year as well. But it starts off, in contrast to reading, I enjoy writing. Whenever I have something to write about, I usually do. Part of me enjoys being handed something to write about, but at the same time, I prefer to write what I want to write. Now, when I read this, I hear a lot of repetition, like I hear writing a bunch, and I also don't like the beginning at all. Like, in contrast to reading, I enjoy writing is a very bland starting sentence, in my opinion. And then there's another one, which is, as far as strengths and weaknesses go, I have some on both sides. This is a little better, but at the same time, again, it is very bland in my opinion, and I improved as the year went on. So now we're going to look at one of my more recent pieces. This is from the 13th of May, and it is about the American Dream of Mice and Men. And so I'll start off by going over the word repetition by reading the first two sentences. In the book, the American Dream is shown to rise up and be able to not take orders and do what you want. I think it is best represented by George and Lenny's plan to live on their own self-sustaining farm. And there are very few repeating words that make it sound awkward in these few lines. Like, I could have used the word American Dream again. I could have done quite a few things like rise up and like self-sustaining, stuff like that. I could have said again, but I didn't, which I feel like that's an improvement from the beginning of the year. And then one of the other things was the introduction sentences being too short, too basic. So compared to the last one, which was, in contrast to reading, I enjoy writing, this one starts with, in the book, the American Dream is shown to be rising up and being able to not take orders and do what you want. I feel like this is a lot more descriptive as what the rest of the paragraph what the rest of the passage is going to be about, as well as it's just more built up instead of just a simple sentence. And then another example would be this one. It says, I would personally define the American Dream as being able to be what you want to be and doing what you want to do. And then that's also compared to the second paragraph beginning sentence is this one, which is, as far as strengths and weaknesses go, I have some on both sides. And I still feel that's a lot better way to word it. So then if I go and... So now we're going to go into reading, and I feel my reading has definitely changed a lot more than my writing has throughout the school year. So coming into the school year, I would basically only read historical fiction. That's the only topic I would like to read about, I think. I really didn't like choice reading that much either because of like being forced to have to read a whole lot more than you wanted to. I think the way that you did it was great with just 10 minutes a day. It's very easy to do. I've been still doing it, and I think it's a perfect balance of you gotta read and not essentially force feeding students books. But yeah, at the beginning of the school year, I would only read historical fiction, but I've branched out to other types of reading, like realistic fiction and like poetry, stuff like that, that I think are actually better. I've taken a liking to that more than I liked World War II fiction. So I think that has definitely been a positive improvement. The last major change to my reading I've made the 2019 to 2020 school year is my reading endurance. So when it first started out and I was only reading that historical fiction, I could only read for about half an hour without getting strained and stuff. But I feel now I could go for at least 3 hours feeling great about what I'm doing, as long as I have the right book. I'd feel great.